When one kills a god, there are higher consequences.
So-called gods.
She storms out of the room and kind of leaves. Cedra has this weird, wry little smile on her face as she's by the door. She says, "That went rather unexpectedly."
I didn't know such foolish people lived in the city.
Some refugees come over to Clydon from the war. Some people are burdened by such atrocities across the mainland. Some come over from the Vestian Kingdom, a depravable place, but yes, we get all sorts. She claimed you killed extremely powerful beings.
That's true.
She called them gods.
Some would call them gods.
If we have the chance to speak afterwards, I'd be very interested to find out how you did so.
Maybe. Well, I have a question for you. Will you be joining us in this fight?
I will. I'll be providing as much help and relief as I can. Those who take damage, I will try to shield as best I can. I'm an abjuration specialist and divination expert afterwards. I've been locating the Tarask and doing small test projects to see if I can shield those from its attacks.
That would be very useful.
Hopefully. Otherwise, I'm going to be basically putting up small barriers that'll be broken down. This thing is relentless, inevitable, in a word.
Well, many think that such powerful creatures are inevitable, but I would dare say that they are not.
I suppose it's smaller fish, but you haven't seen what it's done to people. Maybe fighting it will change your mind. Maybe it won't. And I hope that it dies within the first strike.
Sometimes we need lots of people gathered together in mass forces in order to take down such a powerful beast. And I think that your forces combined with these wonderful allies that we have, I think we're up to the task.
Well, let's hope you are right. Meanwhile, Raven, you are currently crafting, I'm saying that you're going to get crafting the only possible workspace that would handle such a task, the Still Shimmer's place. And you can kind of see the weapons being alloyed with the metals from the Blue Dragons area. Yeah.
Can I tip these as well?
I will say forming them will be one thing. You could probably get it. There's a lot of stuff that is going in beforehand.
Because it's like a molten metal, right? They melt it down. And
It's
tip
right.
these. Okay.
But the trick of it is to making sure that it's at a temperature that would be able to sustain onto a tooth without breaking the tooth. Otherwise, it'll just melt through, and then you just go. So I'll say while you're there, you're able to get probably half of them done. There is kind of a commotion as a couple dwarves kind of wander in. They say, "Ah, finally, cousin!" And they go over to embrace the Steel Shimmers. They say, "I traveled from the battlefronts. I got your letter months ago, and I decided to take the whole family here. We're finally safe." And then you see Gretchen's face kind of fall. He's like, "You don't know about the Tarask?" He says, what do you mean?" He's like, "You should not have come." You kind of are proxy to this conversation. You can step in if you want, but essentially the guy's going to kind of tell the story how the Tarask has basically been on their radar for a month, and there was no way to get correspondence. He was wondering why he wasn't returning the letters. He told him everything to not come, and now someone is here.
What were you guys running from in the first place?
The war. It's on two different fronts now. Clydon's involved in a Burgasian war, and one with a kingdom to the north, the Zonarm. They've been tearing up the countryside, salting the fields, and burning down crops. They're taking no prisoners, so we had to run. And I thought I'd come here to my cousin, and now I'm finding out that we're all going to die in a couple days.
Well, you can stay and fight, or you can still run the other direction.
Where is safe to run? We came here without any food or water. We at least need to provision. I need to get my family out of here.
Well, there's a dead dragon you can eat, like, a bit away.
What?
The meat's just sitting there. It's still pretty fresh.
Alright. Is it? He's like, you might as well. It's not going to any use, I don't think. He's like, I've never had dragon before. We're gonna pan back
Tastes
over.
like chicken.
I'm going to pan back over to you guys. You guys have led a small incursion into raiding basically the entire cellar of Ithis, leaving very, very little, if nothing at all, and transporting it to what you were told is his house. while you are there, there's a tiefling and a dragonborn that kind of eye Thrall, and they look like they've pre-gamed a little bit. They are soldiers. They're dressed in the uniform. They kind of look. They're like, "You must be the biggest, maddest footer I've ever seen in my life."
Would you like to test it?
I would not. I'm an herbalist. I'm good at shooting things from far away, but you could probably hold your liquor pretty well, huh?
That sounds like a challenge, boss.
And this is Gaff. Gaff, my man here, is drunk. Every man under the table says, "I'm Gaff." He's like, "Now, from what I hear, the stories are right. You're a pirate king.
Aye.
I would wager a portion of your treasure for the deed to our homes on a drinking contest. First one under the table loses."
I don't know if you know what a pirate does, but they don't tend to stay in the same place. Your
Pro-
homes have no value to me.
Eventually, it's going to mean something. You're going to want to stop sailing one day, right?
Yes, but why would they come back to Clydon?
Well, then for bragging rights, then. Or is there something else that you think would be worthy enough to offer?
Wait, hold on. How nice can their houses be? I mean, look at the shit more
Brings a good point. Bragging rights it is.
Bragging rights it is. We're going to go ahead and make a... You're going to go ahead and make a Constitution saving throw.
Do I catch word of this party happening at
You definitely see a lot of people on their way over to somebody's house. Yeah.
I'll go.
Okay, I will say that you're on your way. What'd you get?
That one.
Are you kidding?
Am
Alrighty.
I gonna have to already bust out the?
It's probably the longest time you've been away from alcohol, and
I'm guessing somebody did something great.
whether you did not see anything happen, but that does not mean it does not taste oddly to you. And as they're drinking, the first guy finishes it first, and he kind of holds it together while you feel like the insides are burning. You kind of throw up in your mouth a little bit, but you can choose to swallow it or you can throw up onto the ground. I'll leave you with your dignity.
I'm gonna take your cup. I want to smell his cup. See if I can pick up.
Make a
Investigation.
This would be like poisoneer stuff.
That's what assassins do. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what kind of check this would be. Go ahead and make a perception check. You're trying to sniff it and smell and try to detect something from that.
Smells fine to me.
Yeah, you smell worse.
Yeah.
Smells like a metal cup.
Yeah.
That's a natural one, folks.
2 in a row.
Yeah.
Wow,
that is good.
that's incredible.
Two in a row.
Stop being a bitch and drink it.
It's down.
He's like, wow, I outdrink to pirate lord. It's a good thing I didn't bit my house. But if you're able to outdrink me, this is the tiefling talking. The dragonborn was Gaff. He's the tiefling. He kind of like looks over. He's like,
His name is he?
oh no.
No, his name's He's.
He's okay. Yeah.
My name is Herschel. Dang it. I'm losing all my words. My name is Herschel. And if you're able to outdrink me, I'll let you marry my daughter.
What are those portable holes in the ship? We can always add more.
You got a point.
Alrighty. 1, 2.
It's gonna be a 23.
We're going to get back to that in just a sec. Circuit, you were watching this display go on. And in walks the noble as he kind of looks around. There are several people that are beginning to like just open in like food, cheeses, wine is being poured, ale. There's some mead that someone's gotten into. Someone brought in some aged whiskey. It says like property of Ippus, do not open until a year. That's about 20 from now, and are freely drinking from it. Some people are just under it going like it's full on debauchery in here. And the noble kind of looks around a little bit like amused, halfly. He signals over to you. And he kind of he saunters on over to you and he says, "Might we speak in private? It's a little loud in here."
What's wrong? Nothing to say to the public?
It's a longer conversation. A proposal.
So be it. Let's move outside.
You guys are taken outside. It's starting to get later in the afternoon now. And he says to you, he's like, Sirkin, of all the people on the dossier, I thought this deal would probably be the most attractive to you. Are we still good?
We're having
The
sound
mic
problems.
problems,
Oh,
according to the viewers.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
the viewers are saying-
Okay.
cool. Should we pause?
I mean, they can't hear us.
Let's pause, but like just keep talking so I have a signal to test.
Okay. We're gonna take like a brief moment to like troubleshoot real quick. Welcome back. Sorry about that. We had a small technical issue, and I'm just going to give you a summary of what happened in the last 15 minutes. Starting from the beginning, our heroes were able to pull out the teeth of a dragon, make arrows with them, use some of its meat, and place it in a trap. Ilmatar was able to speak to what sounded like a follower of a pantheon of gods that he's been hunting down. Some would claim gods, others would say possibly other powerful beings. Cedra led to this introduction, and the person that they met was a clear worshipper. Meanwhile, Sirkin Tallow, Ghost, and Thrall raided Ippus's emergency bolt room and stole basically all of his food, and decided to have a party at his house at the requesting of a noble by the name of Zargus. They have proceeded to go in and begin drinking contests for the hand of a daughter or a portion of pirate gold. And we'll get to the climax of that part. Meanwhile, Raven making dragon tooth arrows and dipping everything in as much Zeranium as possible, the metal that they were able to acquire from the Blue Dragon, overheard an unfortunate tale of a family coming from the war front, only to find out a Tarrasque will be coming by the next day. And lastly, we left off on Sirkin Tallow being requested to have a word with the same noble that requested they had a party at Ippus's place. They had stepped outside to have a word, and that is where we are picking up. He walks out, he says, Sirkin Tallow, of all the people that we requested to come in, I thought this one might be of most interest to you. Don't mistake this. I'm pretty sure the rest of them might be interested, but possibly nothing to keep them around here. The pirate lord and his assassin have high seas to sail. I believe that the Aarakocra is more interested in hunting monsters than what I have in mind. And Ilmatar, well, let's just say he has his own agenda. When, if, we fight the Tarask and kill it. Essentially, I've received word from the other war fronts that there is to be a counterattack while we are still licking our wounds from the fight, directly at the city. It is regrettable to see the loss of any life of this city. We have fought for a long time at my vehement protesting, and I wish it were a different way, but we are under attack. You, an experienced fighter, would be instrumental in leading a counterattack against our counterattack. I would ask that you stay in Clydon. You're all going to be given noble titles anyway, so why not stand for a city that you helped defend in the first place?
But does the city stand for the same things I do? What do you value? What values are upheld here?
Currently, survival. We're just trying to live in the way that we do. Our major issue with the other city-states is an economic problem through an influx of trade. We are naturally closer to certain mines and have a monopoly on certain precious metals and supplies that others do not. And price gouging has occurred and has essentially left the rest of the city-states in Scaldaria at odds with Clydon.
We need a new regime, something with control, something that knows what they're doing.
In fact, I actually...
Nothing like this Ipis I've seen.
He's a small player in a very much larger plan, but currently I think the man in job is the man in mind is the one who already has the job. Vigilance Carmichael is an interesting candidate, but he would never keep power longer than he needed it. But he is ideally the man that we want to lead.
He's only recently reigning.
He was appointed the power by an emergency decision by the Senate. But if he were to hold on to that power, he would make a very, very good ruler.
Smart, capitalizing on an opportunity like that.
The problem is that I'm sure that the rest of